Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Isn't that a beautiful expression of our souls? You know, all these teachings, all the things that we say, all the things that we affirm, almost sounds like we want to be, right? We want to be that, we want to get there, but we don't always feel like that on the inside. And what do we do with that? You know, today I wanted to speak on after the resurrection, now what? I really think that is the crux of the matter, and I think that's the question to ask every single day, not just seasonally. That this is an opportunity for us to recognize that all that we affirm, all that is coming through us that we desire, any aspiration, that goal is already seated in us. It's already seated in us. And it is up to us to really allow that to play out and to find ways to begin to act as if, to begin to live in that space. But first, let's retrace our steps just a little bit. Let's go back to the tomb. You're not very enthusiastic about that idea. The tomb. The tomb always speaks to us. It means death. It means pain. It means the end. It's probably the biggest fear, we're told, of humanity, our fear of death, that every fear is really a fear of elimination, of being no more, of not mattering, of being obliterated in some kind of a way. But what is death really? And really, what exactly has died? You see, for there to be a resurrection, there has to be life, even in the tomb. Because you see, life is everywhere present. We know that. We say that. We don't always feel that way. We don't always act that way. But for there to be resurrection, for there to be a rebirth, there has to be something giving birth. There has to be life already there. So something is alive, even in the tomb. There has to be something that is being reformed or reconstructed in some kind of a way. And what are our tombs? Why the tomb? What are our tombs to break out of? Our fear. Our tombs are made of anger. Our tombs are made of depression. Sometimes our tombs look like dead-end jobs or addiction or loveless relationships, strained family relationships, challenge in our lives, uncertainty about our future. Our tombs have many different looks to them, and they come to us at various times in our lives, at various stages. But in spite of this, in order to move through that tomb experience, there has to be a tiny spark of hope. Marion Bond West shares a story about her son. She says, "I now have a homeless son. I recently had to accept that truth. My twin sons, John and Jeremy, have led troubled, often dangerous lives for decades. Drugs, alcohol, imprisonment, and mental illnesses have plagued them both. John sleeps at a homeless shelter and walks to First Presbyterian Church to receive a big breakfast, a sermon, and his mail each Sunday. He calls me when he can borrow a friend's cell phone. And through it all, John somehow remains optimistic. He actually gets that from his father, not from me. Most of my life, I've battled fearful thoughts. I can send him a debit card in care of the church. He doesn't seem to want or need much. He assures me that he loves us, but he doesn't want to see us. Not now. He phoned one day. 'It's John, Mom,' as if I couldn't recognize my own son's voice. He was joyful, as usual. 'I have to have a chest x-ray. My TB test didn't come back right. I can walk to a clinic in 2 weeks. I'm sure it'll be fine. I called all our family to pray and battled my own negative thinking. 2 weeks and 4 days passed. I answered the phone early one morning, the week before Easter. The voice asked, "Hey, how are you? John?" "Yeah, it's me, Mom. I'm good. How about you?" "My chest x-ray was fine. I now have to get a driver's license for $25. I'll put a gift debit card in the mail." "Oh, thanks, Mom. As soon as I get my license, I believe I'll have a job and a place to live with a buddy." You never give up hoping, do you, son? Of course not. You have to hang on to hope. I love you, Mom. Oh, happy Easter. Even in the tomb, there's a shiny light if we look for it. Even if we can't get out yet, we have to know we can. Henry David Thoreau said, "We must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids, but by an infinite expectation of the dawn." An infinite expectation of the dawn, that no matter what it is that we are facing or seeing for ourselves or for others in our lives, we have to believe in this inimitable resilience, in the ongoingness of life, that we are already living an eternal life. Easter reminds us that there is life in the tomb as well as after the tomb. There is a life force in all things, like flowers in the crack of a sidewalk. Doesn't that blow your mind? It does me. How often do I tend flowers? I can't keep flowers alive on my desk. And there are flowers growing right now outside in the crack of the sidewalk. There is something that is always pressing out. Life itself will be expressed if we give it half of a chance. Any kind of nurture, any kind of attention, and sometimes when we ignore it completely, it will remind us it is there and has been all along. When we emerge from the tomb, we wake up to a new life because we have been recreated. Maybe imperceptibly at first, but at some level, we have been changed. We are a new creation. When we overcome one of those big struggles of life, or even in stages, because many times we have to pass by several times of those stages, right? And we get a little bit further and a little bit further. It's not just a straight shot. I wish it were. I would definitely speak to the Master of the Universe and make a recommendation. I would really like for it to be from here to there, wouldn't you? And be all healed. I'd love to know what that is when you finally get there, wherever there is. And the Master of the Universe would probably say, well, let me know, because it continues to evolve. But anyway, that's another talk on another time. Jack Kornfield said, "Those who are awake live in a constant state of amazement." They're not all knowing. They're not all above it. People who are awake are like children, engaged, amazed, expectant, looking for the next surprise or the next miracle or the next hope or the next delight or the thing that they would never have guessed was going to come at the end of this. Because they trust, because the world is constantly unfolding in its beauty and power and has an experience for those who have eyes to see. So what does it mean to be awake? One of the Easter stories is Mary Magdalene encountering Jesus in the garden outside of the tomb after she's already discovered the tomb is empty and spoken to an angel who told her that he's not there. Go tell the others. And Jesus appears to her and speaks to her, but she does not recognize him. She doesn't recognize him. She confuses him for the gardener, because that's what she would expect to see. Because she's just been told that the body of Jesus, who she was present when his body was removed from the cross and placed in the tomb, she knows that he isn't living. She's not looking for him. She doesn't recognize him until he says her name. It is in that moment then that she recognizes him. How is it that we can block out the very thing we're looking for? How is it that we can be so attuned and so oblivious at the same time? Because we have expectations, because we have confined our worldview to what it's going to look like and what it's going to be like and what it ought to be, instead of opening to what is and seeing more and more of what is, because that's what awakened, enlightened people do. They stop arguing for something smaller or something from the past or something that they brought in with them or something that they can control. Instead, they are open and receptive to the next delight, to the next surprise, to the next thing that enlivens, the next thing that draws some new challenge out of them, something new and positive and powerful and beautiful that we wouldn't have dreamed we were capable of if life itself hadn't known that and pulled it from us. We have to be awake to stop blocking what we don't understand, what we don't like, what we are afraid of, and be willing to see what is. You know, in the summertime, when I was growing up, I remember being confined to the backyard because Mom wanted to take a nap, and the 5 of us kids couldn't be loose in the neighborhood, and we couldn't have friends over while she was resting. She had to have some downtime, right? So I'd be in the backyard with nothing to do. I've been over every square inch of that backyard. I knew it like the back of my hand. I was walking around, and there was some little glint in the sunlight, and I went over to it, and I saw it. It was a weird shade of green, and I pulled it up, and it was an Easter grass. And I go, what is Easter grass doing here in August? This is amazing. How long has it been there? How did it get there? And then for a moment, I'd have a wild palpitation of hope that maybe the Easter Bunny was coming back around again for a second go-around. This is awesome. This is so cool. How could it be there? To find something unexpected in the ordinary is a delight, and it's a portal. It's a doorway to another world altogether. People who are awake find meaning from fragments, meaning in abstract patterns and symbols sometimes, because they are constantly alert and awake and aware that they are in communion with all that is, that there is only good, that there is only wisdom and safety and security, and yet something wild and crazy ahead as well. And knowing that they're being called at any moment into another way of being. The Easter egg hunt's another practice at that in a kind of weird way. You know, you have this beautiful, decorated, beautiful egg, and where is it? It's hidden in regular grass outside, or in the cleft of a tree, or underneath a bush, or on a branch, or hidden somewhere unexpected. And the whole idea is to find the unexpected thing in the natural, normal, everyday look of things. What a wonderful practice. Why don't we have Easter egg hunts all the time? I think actually we do. We just didn't know we were supposed to play. You're living a new life, so don't expect the same road signs. Be aware. You may be called from a different direction, in a different way. Edward B. Lindemann said, one of life's most fulfilling moments occurs in the split second when the familiar is suddenly transformed into the dazzling aura of the profoundly new. Yeats said, the world is full of magical things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper. Imagine that. Right here in full view, right in front of us, there's something. And it's waiting for us to wake up to it, to see it. Waiting for us to sharpen our view, to look down at our feet, to look up at the sky, to see it in a neighbor or a friend or in someone we have yet to meet. Marcel Proust says, "The voyage of discovery is not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes." Yeah. Closer and closer to home, more and more on the interior, more and more up to us. It isn't the world that needs to change. It's our perspective. It is our expectation. It is our engagement. It is our awakening. That's what the world is waiting for. After the resurrection, the disciples must begin looking within themselves for the Christ, because the outward form of Jesus was not coming back. Yes, he appeared in a few stories, but he did not keep reappearing. Get that? He didn't come to stay. He came to say goodbye, to impart, to give off the keys to the kingdom of heaven. He basically said, I gave you everything I had to give you. Now go do something with it. Go take it to the world. That's what he said. And then he disappeared from sight. And when Peter heard about the empty tomb, even though he had been one of the ones who, he wasn't present at the cross because he was afraid for his own life, but as he was convinced of this, he ran to this empty tomb where the other disciples just made fun of the women who came back to tell them that an angel had appeared and told them that the body wasn't there, that he had resurrected. Peter ran fast to take a look for himself. And you know why it was Peter, I think? Because who was the one they were all looking to? It was Peter. Peter, what do we do now? What happens now? They're unprepared, so they believe. Peter, he, above all, wants to see that Jesus is really here. And he goes to the empty tomb. And it's then that the full reality starts to set in. And Peter then had to look within himself and discover where that Christ would lead now. Because in Jesus, in that form, was no longer the one. That is the truth of all of us. This is what happens after the resurrection. It isn't done vicariously through someone else. If it's not done in us, it's not done. If it's not done by us, it isn't going to be expressed in the world. We are the ones who are loaded with the seed to carry, to bloom in the world. We're the ones. Now what? Us. That's what it is. It's always been that. You know, the butterfly thing, yes, always connected to the resurrection. I was thinking about the butterfly. Actually, I was thinking about the poor caterpillar, you know, getting remade in the chrysalis. And you know the story about once that body gets completely reformed and remade, no longer, I mean, wholesale transformation from caterpillar to beautiful butterfly, they do not look anything alike. And inside of this tight little thing, now, all of a sudden, something itchy and something big appendage that doesn't belong. I've been remade wrong. Something's wrong here. This isn't what I'm used to. What is that? What do wings feel like anyway? How would we know? But here inside this little caterpillar now has to learn with his little caterpillar brain what it is to be a butterfly and to be transformed and to practice. And so part of the practice is breaking out of the chrysalis with these wings and to inhabit them and to strengthen them and to use them. And it's never done it before. And neither have we. Not really, not fully, not this time, not this way. Not in this moment, not in these challenges, not at this time in the world. And yet, we must. Dr. Rachel Naomi Reman talks about Tikkun Olam, which is a Kabbalist experience of teaching of how it is that we repair the world by repairing and restoring the light of the world. That the myth is that the great, beautiful, pure, unobstructed light of the world from which everything has come, the container that holds it, broke open and shattered, and little shards, little sparks of light went everywhere, into everything, into everybody. And it is our work as humans, a service to the world, that we go and repair the world by turning on all of these lights, blessing the light in ourselves, blessing the light in each other, blessing the light in everything. And every time we do, a light shines, and more of the wholeness of the world. It's called repairing the world, Tikkun Olam. She says, in talking of a particular dark time in her life, a friend of hers said that the depths of her alcoholism, she had a thought that had occurred to her and proved to be a turning point. What if her struggle to find a way to live beyond her addiction had a deeper meaning than she once thought? She had been living in darkness for many years. What if she was the only person in the world who could redeem the goodness in this particular piece of darkness that had been given to her? This task might be hers alone. In some larger, more mysterious sense, it could even be her life's service. This thought had lifted her sense of guilt and shame and dignified her struggle. It had given her a power she had not been able to find elsewhere. She wonders now if everyone's struggle to overcome whatever diminishes them and live whole has this same meaning. Tikkun Olam points to the value of every life. Rachel says, my grandfather explained this to me when I was very small. He said, we need to remember to bless the life around us and within us, Nishumale, he said. When we bless others, we free the goodness in them and in ourselves. When we bless life, we restore the world. My parents as socialists believed in working for the common good, but my grandfather taught me that we bless life because it is holy and because we are holy as well. There's an old Inuit song that says, I think over again my small adventures, my fears, those small ones that seem so big, all those vital things I had to get and to reach. And yet there's only one great thing, to live and see the great dawn that dawns and the light that fills the world. Like Jesus after his resurrection, we too are going on to our Father, to the source of our soul, to our being. We are all being lifted up. We are all bringing more, so that we ourselves can be exhibiting this light, one awakened moment at a time. And that is enough. And that is the deal. So after resurrection, that's the point. So go have a happy ever after Easter. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.